Welcome to Talk Theory. It's your host, Kiara Barnes, where I talk all things life, what makes us human, and what makes us superhuman. Sit back, relax, and join me for a chat. Hello, welcome back to Talk Theory. Thanks for listening to another episode. I hope everyone's been doing good. Look, guys, I know that we briefly touched on this a few days ago, but I thought I'd keep you updated and confirm that the Actors Union is now striking officially. If you don't know about that and want to know about that, I suggest Google for sure. Read up on what you don't know. There's plenty of articles that are active. But yeah, it's very wild times, but necessary. And there's a lot of things that just need to be adjusted with where we are now and how times have changed in general. But yeah, anyhow, I'll keep you guys updated on my end with that as well. But I'm really hoping, which we will at some point, but, hoping sooner rather than later that we can all come together and have a positive resolution. All right, folks, let's get into today's topic. I want to talk about being in the flow. And I know that I've touched on this, but I really had to exercise this week. And I just feel like with everything going on, especially within my career, but just in general, having this sense of balance is super, super important. And so actually, I finished my move this week, and this was like my first really, really big move, like a lot of furniture, a lot of cleaning, organizing, packing, all of the things. And it was just incredibly easy, for me to just feel really stressful. And, for this move, I just, there's a lot going on. And one thing I will say, actually, is that I'm really grateful that I had the feeling to pack like 2 to 3 boxes per day, at least. Like, I was like, at least got to pack like at least 2 boxes. And I did that like 2.5 weeks. I started doing that before the actual move happened, and it made the overall move so much smoother. So just a heads up for anyone that's moving, definitely worth it. I got really into it, like on my notes app. I have like all the numbered boxes with the lettering next to them. Yeah, I went in this time. Nevertheless, you don't realize how much energy you are storing in the body, especially when you're stressed, because, like I was doing the meditating, I was journaling and all of that through this, like really heavily actually, to help me stay balanced. And I just ended up having like some really bad days. I'm not going to lie, like intense panic attack. And, once I like stabilized and traced back my footprints, like what I was doing, I realized why and how I got there. And with that, I was able to address what was really going on and like what was really getting me stressed. And also, oddly enough, I found that I just wasn't stretching enough. Like I would journal, meditate, and then, when I would journal, meditate, and do like some kind of yoga in the morning, my days would just go so much smoother. And I realized, even though I'm like getting my mind calm and ready for the day, my body also needs that. And so even if my mind's calm, my body is still storing like a bunch of energy. And so with stretching and like yoga, I just feel like it's the smoothest way of releasing that, because you have to do a lot of breath work. Whereas, like going on a run or something like that is going to have your body even more stimulated. Like you'll definitely be exerting energy, but I feel like yoga and stretching is definitely a meditation on their own. Anyway, a lot of the time I would get the thought as well, like right after meditation during this week of moving, I would get this thought like, oh, you should go do yoga. You should do this. And I would decide, no, like I don't have enough time. I just need to get my day started instead. But then because I'm like anxious or whatever, I end up sitting on my mat anyway, trying to help myself through this anxiety. But at the end of the day, I am glad like those things did happen, because I was able to recognize what was happening and realize, wait a minute, okay, my first instinct was to do this. And that helped me just trust myself rather than second guess, especially after meditation, when that's like when your mind is the most clear. Like honestly, whatever your first thought is directly outside of meditation, definitely listen to that. Because your mind is so clear. But relating this to being in the flow, only when I was present in the moment could I recognize any of this. And to even be in the flow was just, for me, it's not pushing back with any resistance, right? So even with this strike going on for writers and actors, there's a lot of reasons to be really stressed and worried during this time, because no work is happening, and actors, we're not allowed to work at this time unless there's like very, very specific agreements between studios and SAG and all these other avenues of allowing us to work. So there's a lot of stress in the air. And, this has definitely been a really, really big exercise, like I was saying earlier, in being in the flow. And I just keep reminding myself that this is what's happening, and that's that. Like, that's it. So instead of losing my head, I just have to be here, trusting my own intuition and guidance during this time. Because, that's really all that I can do. There's no need to give more lighter fluid to the fire and freaking myself out. And not everyone's situation is alike. And I understand that, but it's something to say that, to rationalize that your fear and worries will not help solve the current situation any more than what is currently happening. So instead, might as well just look at whatever situation as an opportunity to do something different, strive for something different, receive something different, whatever it may be, because looking at a disaster saying this is a disaster will not be changing the fact that what you're looking at is a disaster, right? So like the sooner you can be like, yeah, this is what it is, and do something else, or navigate your mind in some kind of way that's going to benefit you to get through it, it's going to be better for you. And I have to say, because there was so much going on this week, I had to look at every situation as like, okay, this will just work out, or whatever happens will be taken care of. Because honestly, if I didn't do that, I would have been having these kind of panic attacks every single day. And like I said, it did happen earlier in the week, which is why I had to stop all of that in its tracks and, address it. Because, like every stressful situation that I came across, as soon as I immediately flipped my perspective about it and like stopped myself from like going down a path of just, fear of whatever the situation, as soon as I flipped it before it got that deep, it totally changed my experience to a good one. And I've also talked about this before, like segment intending and how that helps a lot. If you haven't heard of segment intending, essentially it just helps program your brain to associate a future experience in a positive light before it happens, right? So, for example, with the move, I definitely use this. I journaled how, like I said something like, oh, how easy the move was and how, when the men got to the house, they would be able to move everything perfectly fine. It would go really smooth. It would be super professional. They would take good care of all my items, that they would be super easy to work with. Like I wrote all of this down specifically before it happened, like the morning of. And it went great. They were so good about wrapping my furniture, making sure all my things were protected, and they were lovely to work with. And by the way, let me tell you, like getting movers is so worth it. I am so grateful, you guys. Like I could have not done that on my own. Or, I mean, I could have, but I would have not been mentally okay. So yeah, I certainly learned this week to listen to my gut and my first instincts. Just do what feels right. And, it's interesting. I heard someone speaking on this the other day, and she was saying how when you ask advice from other people, they can't ever truly know how to guide you. And even when you're not asking for advice, but maybe even just in conversation, talking, they can't ever truly know how to guide you because we are all living from our own perspective. And so we always see through the eyes of ourselves. We can't help to give advice based off our own lived experience and what feels good for us to say. Which isn't to say, by the way, that you shouldn't take advice of others. It just means only listen to what resonates and what touches your soul, because this is your life and you are the only one on your path. No one else can tell you how it's going to look. And honestly, that gives me a lot of peace personally. Like we're all just, doing our best really to feel our best and do what we can. So, be kind to yourself, be kind to others. Don't take everything so serious. I'm talking to myself a lot about that. Know when to go outside, know when to put your phone down. Just listen to yourself more. Okay, today's theory is when we flow with the stream of life, it's all that more enjoyable. I just feel like allowing things to be as they are and not pushing uphill is always 10 times easier emotionally, physically, mentally, like all of that, than doing the opposite. So again, be kind to yourself, do what feels best for you. And, like we know much better than we like to give ourselves credit, honestly. I'm a big believer of just following your gut. Anyhow, I hope everyone has a great week. I'm going to be hitting the beach. I hope y'all are doing something fun, swimming, something, having popsicles, ices. It is really hot. This whole time I've been like complaining about how it's been all rainy and gloomy, and now it's really, really hot, which is perfect. I'm definitely going to enjoy my summer now. Anyway, make sure y'all are wearing your sunscreen. Okay, and I shall see you next week. Okay, love you. Bye.